Hello, welcome back to Borås in Sweden. We are live for the knockout sprint here today. We've already had the qualification. We have just in the last couple of hours had the quarterfinals as well, and we are ready for the semi-finals and the finals for both the men and the women to see who will take home the medals for the knockout sprint. It's going to be fast, it's going to be furious for all of the races today. There's only two that make it through to the final from every single semi-final, and it is going to be absolutely tight on the line for, we hope, all of these races. Really looking forward to a fantastic afternoon of racing. We've had an opportunity to take a look at some of the courses, and we're going to be here in this part of Borås, just not exactly the centre, but really close to the centre. It's got a lot of characteristics of a city sprint, and this is our view of the run-in, and where we've got this arena with our spectators watching out for their favourite runners to come through and hopefully be the first to the finish line. And usually, compared to recent knockout sprints, it's actually quite a long run-in, quite a lot of spectating that can happen. So it's going to be really about those who have the strongest legs right at the end of this course. And after having raced 4 races today, by the time you get to the final, you're really going to be very, very tired. So let's have a look then in a bit more detail at the terrain. We've got some great aerial shots of the area. We're right by this church. And Jonas, maybe you can tell us about what kind of characteristics this area has.
Well, it's different compared to the individual sprint, which was more in the suburbs. And this morning they had the qualification, which actually had some forest orienteering also in the quarterfinal. But as you mentioned before, now it's more like a city sprint again. It's many decisions to take. This actually is quite similar to the individual sprint. You often have 2 or 3 options, 2 of them okay, 1 you shouldn't take. And many decisions you are occupied, like you have something to do all the way around. I think the finish, as you mentioned, quite physical. So from the second last control, third last control to the finish, it's actually not so many chances anymore to make a difference.
And you have a lot of these sections in the middle, these kind of courtyard sections or garden sections in the middle of some of these bits of houses. And you really have to be very distinct, knowing exactly what you're looking for when you get in there, because there's loads of detail on the map. There's quite a lot of kind of little steps here, there and everywhere, a little bit of a flower bed that's actually quite tricky to see. But let's talk you then through the course. We're going to start with the semi-final for the men.
And you see the first control is a very easy one. You get some time to get into the map reading, then route choice to second control, and then we have the runner's choice there with 3 different options. So the runners will choose their own options 2 minutes before the start and then execute their own options, the red, blue or green one. Then at control 5, it's kind of a change in the terrain. You have a bit more time there. You get some time. Of course, it's a route choice to control 6, but you get some time to breathe, or not to breathe, but at least to relax your head a bit. You have one. Once you've decided, it's quite a long way to go. And then in the end, as I mentioned before, from control 11, there's actually not so many different options. So there it will be quite physical to the finish. So if you are behind at control 11, it will be very tough to get in contact again.
Yeah, it will be tough, but there are route choices to make from 9 to 10 and 10 to 11. So if you're kind of behind and feeling like you need to take a risk, then there is the opportunity to do that. I think we're going to have a look at some of the different options in a little bit more detail. So this is this school here. You can see that there is, well, you're saying it's quite a different routes, and this is actually the women's control, I think. So they have different controls here. The women's course is slightly shorter, but you have these options of going one way round or the other way round. And for me, it looks like the red one is shorter.
Yeah, there's actually a third option. You could go just after the number 5 there to the north into this, and then go east on the building again. So there's 3 options on this route here. There's another one, you see it's control 7 to 8. You have the red option and the blue option here. And that's kind of typical for this course. it's kind of tricky there in between. You have to find your way, you have to find the fast way. Even here, there would be a third option if you go to the blue, and then in the middle you can go to the east, just here and take up the stairs there in between. I think that's a third option, which is quite good.
We thought that one, I think, was maybe the quickest of all of them. This is a leg on the final, by the way. This is not on the semi-final, so we're jumping ahead there to the final for this route choice. So that is one of the ones that's they're gonna have to contend with later on in the afternoon. We have a look at the semi-finals here. It was the top 3 to make it through from the quarterfinals to the semi-finals, and so the top 3 in quarters 1 and 2 have joined together to make semi-final 1. At this point, we didn't really see too many surprises in the quarterfinal, but what I really want to do is we will maybe try to mention at some point some of the those who missed out in the qualification, because there were specifically in the men's a few people who we would have maybe expected to qualify who didn't. Daniel Hubman, Joey Hazard, Yannick Michels all missing out, but we will talk through these 3. They've already picked their options. They picked those 2 minutes ago, or maybe 1 minute ago, and now this is the lineup. And we've got Tim Robertson, of course, took a medal 2 days ago in the sprint. He's got full of lots of confidence there, and we just can't see him quite off the edge of the shot there. But we've got 3 Norwegians in this semi-final. I think that shows really the pedigree of the Norwegians. Okay. There they go. Immediately looking at the map, we managed to see Thomas Krivda straight out there. And as we said, it was quite an easy number 1. And then there's a little bit more you could almost see some of them were just going to follow, and some of them were actively making the decision. Maybe the ones who got there first, that's kind of a little nervousness at the start, but they ultimately all go the same way. So of these 6, only 2 then through to the final. That is it. It's a really, really brutal. You've got to be in the top third or you will not make it any further. So at this point, there was an opportunity to go. You could have gone the other way, up by a little track, which, or kind of like wiggling through some of the buildings.
And I think this option is quite good. And then you go around there. You have to attack the control from the east. It's kind of special here because in earlier competitions we have often seen that the runner's choice is right from the start, the first controls. Here you have 2 controls and then the runner's choice options start here. You can see most of the runners, they choose A. Mm-hmm. That was actually a bit of my expectation, because I think when you choose your own option, it's often you pick the one that seems easiest to execute, maybe because it's so hard to compare them and how fast they are.
Especially here where there's so many paths going everywhere,
So you choose the one where there like fewest possible traps and stuff like this. So I think A looks quite kind of easy to execute, and for me that's a bit the reason, maybe because why everyone chose A. No, almost everyone.
Almost everyone. So they've punched that.
Now they were backing up there. Now at control.
You see on the top of the screen there.
So they messed up then, because that first control is on the other side of the fence. So they all read it wrong, and they all went down there and had to turn around and go back again. So
good for Krivda.
Good for Krivda. Yeah, exactly. You've got to read your control descriptions to know it's on the other side of the fence. So now they all back around and they go there. And could this be advantage to Krivda here? Or
no, I think they
punched it, but because it's through the fence.
I think it's the green part there and not the fence. So everything okay, so that they're all together at this control here.
Oh yeah, it's like open area. Yeah, okay, fine. The controls went out when we were running it, okay? So after the choice, I mean, at this point, you see that they're back together again. The choice isn't really meant to kind of split them up. You're not really meant to have a penalty by choosing the wrong time, but I think it always there to make people do their own orienteering, making sure they choose their own routes here. As you can see, Tim Robertson taking a risk, maybe. I think it's good.
I was talking about earlier. Let's see, he was faster. To get back to what you said before, of course, it's kind of to force them to read the map by themselves, because of course they don't know which other option they took. And interesting here, you see that Robertson's route choice was very good, so now he has a gap of about 3 or 4 seconds. And it will be tough for him to keep that gap, but at the same time the others have to push a little bit harder to get in contact again. And it's always easier to be in the lead. You can kind of run at your own speed, you can have control.
Yeah, so Tim Robertson leading the way then, Matthias Kiberts in second, Thomas Krivda in third. Then we've got the 3 Norwegians all together chopping and changing.
And now from this control, there's a route choice again. So we see that Kiberts backed out again. He will head to the big street there, running to the left around. I think they're both quite similar. See here, come together again.
And I think you're really starting to get a sense of the pace that they're going through this, especially as they're going around these corners. I mean, it's absolutely brutal, the pace. It's punishing here for these 6 men, these 6 athletes who are doing it at this speed and also having to do the orienteering at the same time.
And you see really often how you have some small decisions to take. It's kind of micro route choice, going to the left or to the right. And here it's really not about seconds, it's about meters. It's about your position in the pack, because in the end it's very important to not be, I think if you're the last runner of those 6, it's very difficult in this physical end to get and pass the other ones to get in this second position that takes you to the final.
Yeah, you really want to be leading the pack at this point. They've got to go through these through the barriers here to go around. The GPS is just lagging a little bit, so they're already on their way to control number 10, taking the western route. That was maybe an opportunity to kind of take a risk potentially, and then we'll see them at this. Here we go. This is the 10th control.
From different directions, Kiberts, Robertson, Krivda, and then the 3 Norwegians still.
So you couldn't really gain too much time on a different route choice, I think, there. And then interesting again, they've chosen not to. You could back out and go down the steps, you can just see in the far corner, but they've gone around, which we think is better, I think, this one, and they will have to avoid these barriers that have been put into place.
But this really was the last option to choose differently. I think it's a bit faster to the last one to go to the right, but let's see here. It's Kiberts, it's Robertson. And you see here, the gap is quite big already. You see here, one of the Norwegian runners decided to go the other way around.
And this is you've got to weigh up in your mind whether you want to turn around at the control and waste a couple of seconds turning around, or you want to go straight through the control, touch-free punching, you've got to do that.
And of course he knew the others were taking the option to the right, so he had to take a risk there, and it was his only chance, more or less, to get in contact again.
Exactly, it was the only chance. So Matthias Kiberts here and Tim Robertson. We've also got one of the Norwegians, I couldn't see who it was, and Thomas Krivda. Here we go, here is the fight then for the line. It's only going to be the top 2 to go through to the final. Who is going to make it? Matthias Kiberts looks good, but Tim Robertson is working really hard to see if he can get ahead of Erik Langedal Breivik, who won his heat. But it is Matthias Kiberts to go through, then Tim Robertson, probably the 2 favourites for this heat. The Norwegian Breivik gave it a really, really good shot to try and catch up, was hanging back and had a very good finish, so ended up in third ahead of Thomas Krivda, but Matthias Kiberts taking the win there. Tim Robertson also through. Good work for the Swiss, who's trying to win his second World Cup knockout sprint in a row.
Yeah, and you could really see that, in my opinion, the 2 most active runners made it to the final. We have seen Tim Robertson taking his own route choice to control 6, going all alone there, was 2, 3, 4 seconds faster, and Matthias Kiburtz in the end was really setting the speed and looked very good for both of them. They met each other already in the quarterfinals, so now they will have competed in all of this quarter, semi, and final against each other. We see that Cliff Dye was the only one having the C option at the runner's choice, and we also can see here that it doesn't really matter if you take A or C. At least we haven't seen the B option here, and that's the part where Robertson.
That was good for Tim Robertson there. Yeah. Really good, really
so now
strong.
we also see the men's map here.
Kiburtz went out the other way, but then they joined back up again here and went the same way around for number 9. Again, this Gautasteva choosing that different route choice didn't pay off. It didn't really lose too much time either. He was already kind of towards the back. Then Breivik, maybe this was good for Breivik then. Yeah, really good choice for Breivik, running, just not turning around there and taking that choice.
In the end, I mean, he doesn't have to stop at the control and change direction again. He can just continue in the same direction. That I mean, it might make a difference of a second.
Right, so looking at the results there, those are the top 2 to go through then to the final. Matthias Kiburtz, Tim Robertson, Switzerland and New Zealand, they have made it through to that final that will be happening very, very shortly. So they've got to go off now. They've got to try and recover as quickly as they can from that race, get the heart rate down and kind of keep moving. Some of these athletes will run like 40k today, you know, with all the warming up and cooling down. Okay, but one is over and we move on to the next one already. And look at that sea of blue and yellow there. There are a lot of Swedes in this one. 4 Swedes. We have Emil Svensk, Martin Regborn, Jonathan Gustafsson, Ralf Street, Jörg Lysell and Adrien Delaine. So they have already made their choice. They don't know what the others have chosen. They've got these barriers between them. They really can't see each other at all. But they made that choice a couple of minutes ago. When they get to the runner's choice section, we will find out which ones they've picked. The first semi-final, if you remember, that was all A and 1C. So we will see what happens in this one. Our kind of gut was telling us that B was less good, so it wasn't a surprise that not very many people had chosen that one. But we will see what happens here. And who do you rate? Martin Regborn had a really good race on Thursday. He was in the top 10. Could be a tough one to call, this one.
Yeah, it's a really tough one. It's good to see Jörg Lysell back also. Had a good qualification this morning. Jonathan Gustafsson is a really strong runner. Ralf Street, we all remember 2019 when he ended up top 3 in the knockout sprint in Switzerland with a very good decision on towards the last control. So I think this will be quite a tight race, and especially interesting with 4 Swedish runners, because many of the national teams have been training a lot of sprint and knockout sprint, and I'm sure they know everything about each other's strength and weaknesses, so they might just try to play that out here as well.
There's almost a bit of a pile up at the control there as they go. Nobody kind of really willing, I think, to take it on. Jörg Lysell is near the front there, and they've gone this same route that we saw the first semi-final go. But really, I guess, again, we still really haven't seen too many. Oh my gosh, it's the same as the first one. Everybody choosing A apart from Delaine, who chooses C. So this is going to be super interesting then to see how they go here. It's just gonna, you know, is there an advantage choosing one that more people go to? You know, is there an advantage choosing A, or do you want to be by yourself on C?
I don't think it matters for them. It might be a good thing. It's if you're not the only one on your option. On the other hand, I mean, if you go on your own one, you don't really know if no one else has the same. You still could have another route choice. You could have a runner behind you. But I don't think it matters so much. They know, I mean, they have seen all the 3 options. They know that they're quite similar. So I don't think that matters too much for them.
So this group of 5 all have the A option. And they are, of course, all going together. But at this point, you know, we saw it in the other races as well. Like, they were just, you know, everybody keeping very close. Nobody really making a move yet. It's only really kind of towards the tactics that seem to be the kind of standard tactics for knockout sprint, if that is even a thing yet, is you're much more likely to kind of take that risk later on in that race and try and do something different to get ahead, basically. But you do want to be try and be towards the front of the pack, because to have to make a surge to try and get ahead of anybody else is going to be quite tricky, definitely. But these 5 still all together here on their way to control number 4, which is just round behind this building. You've got to try and not be too stressed. You've got to be in control here. And you've got to be looking good. So now we can see they're all grouping back up. But Delaine was kind of off the back of the pack anyway when they left control number 2. So maybe not too much of a surprise that he's in that position at this point then.
Let's see here at control 5 to 6 on this longer route. We know that there is a fast option if you turn to the left right after a fence. And here it's really, you were talking about the tactics here, it's really about the positioning. I mean, you don't have to go away, it's the chance of like breaking away and going on your own, it's really little. They are so equal physically. It's all about you don't want to be on 5th or 6th position towards the end. You really want to be in contact, you want to see the leader, you want to be really close. You don't have to be the first one, but you really want to be in contact with them. And I think it's all about this. Don't lose, don't let a gap open. That's the main thing.
Yeah, there's a lot more tactics like similar to track and field. You've got to be in contention, you've got to be kind of on the shoulder of somebody, you don't want to be boxed in and all of those kind of things. But here's the group. Gustafsson still leading them, Emil Svensk, then Martin Regborn, then Jukka Lysell, Ralph Street and Adrian Delaine in that order. So the 4 Swedish runners are all together at this point, and kind of now we're at the furthest point from the start and the finish. Maybe trying to have a look at the shape of the course. When do you start taking some risks, trying to overtake? And Ralph Street has moved himself up now here in the pack, and they just dropped down the bank to this control. We have seen a few people go slightly different routes here, some going straight on, some turning their way back, and yeah, most of them going the way back here, and they will drop down. But still, there is a different route choice here. You could go out to the other main street, I think.
But it feels that in this heat here, we have the runners much more together. They don't really take their own decisions. They try to do more the positioning compared to the heat we have seen before. So either they are less active in map reading, or all of them have really a lot of trust in their physical abilities towards the end and think that I can make a difference there.
Yeah, that can be dangerous if you know, everybody wants to feel like they're in great physical shape when they're on the line. And I mean, you've got to go into a race feeling like that, because otherwise, what are you doing here? You've got to have that confidence. Confidence means so much in orienteering, to know how to push it, to not have those hesitations and everything like that.
And now you could really see, I think if Martin Rekman would have been on his own, he would have gone to the left there. He had his head looking to the left, and then he was just checking the others' backs, and okay, no one is going there, I will go to the right as well.
Yep, they're really wanting to have that pack mentality. They're staying together at this point. You can see that's the route that they've all gone. They will go up the steps. Let's see, here they go. And this is where you've got to kind of have a good picture in your head of where the control is when you get into this kind of garden section. And now they split up. Okay, they split up 4. Oh no, they don't split up. They've all gone together. Yeah, because they thought maybe they could get out of this southwest corner, but you couldn't. You have to go back and that way. And now there was an option to kind of go back down the steps, although we think that's pretty slow. So they've all gone the same way again, and now they're really going to be jostling for position.
So here we are at the 3rd last control, waiting for the runners. It should come very soon here. And from here we have seen that it was quite a good option to go up again all the way around. So let's see here, half the pack is going up. This will be very tough for Delaine. Getting contact again. Lysell staying too long on the other side of the roads.
at control number 11. 2 controls to go.
So let's see, this is the last control. Who's going to be here first? It's going to be a real sprint out here. There we go. We can see some of the runners there.
Ralph Street
It
here.
is Ralph Street. He's had a great finish. Ralph Street's got a gap. And then who's going to be next?
Svensk.
It is Emil Svensk, Martin Regborn, Jökull Isel, Gustafsson is at the end. And then Svensk tripping up on the stairs. So Ralph Street is in the lead. Look, he looks good to make it through to the final. And it'll be Ralph Street and one of the Swedish team. So Ralph Street's managed to get a gap, and there is a real shootout here. Martin Regborn has managed to make it. He is the top Swede. Oh, it's nearly a blanket finish there. So Ralph Street crossing the line first, and Martin Regborn in second place.
And what I really like about Ralph Street, I mean, we have seen it now today again. We've seen it 3 years ago at this one of the last knockout sprints we had. He's really much there when when you need a fast decision in the very end. He's there and he's always picking right then. And I like it. It shows that he is very actively involved in his decisions and that he has a plan for the very end.
Yeah, and you could see at the start he kind of hung back a little bit. He knows that you don't need to get stressed out at the start. You just need to be there. And then where you really want to be switched on is right at the end.
And here we see again all of them having the same runner's choice except for Adrian to the C option. And in this heat here, actually, he was a bit slower compared to the others. Or to say if it was the runner's choice or if he had maybe not the best route choice there. No one here has taken the one that we have seen Robertson taking, and this is kind of the thing I was talking about.
It's
not
late enough in the race to make a risk.
Yeah, maybe, but you could
Too
make a
early.
difference as well.
Yeah, you could pull up, you could go from being at the back of the pack to being at the front
But
of the pack.
I think actually that all of them, they had quite good confidence in their finish, so they thought that, yeah, exactly, why should I try to force it to a decision already here. I can wait a bit. And then here we have seen this small mistake when they were just running around this green area there instead of turning to the left. Straight ahead, and here a good option to run up there, because then you don't have to change direction at control 12. You can just keep on going.
Yeah, then you're changing direction at control 11 and control 12. So yeah, it's just being able to run through all those controls is really means a lot of seconds. So we've got confirmation then. Ralph Street, Martin Regborn, they join Matthias Kibert and Tim Robertson into the final. So 4 of those 6 final places have been decided, and now we go for the last 2 spots in our third of our 3 semi-finals. And this one is, again, it's going to be a really close one. I think maybe the first 3 on that list are maybe the 3 favourites, but of course only 2 can go through. We will run through the lineup. August Molena's has not had a lot of experience on the World Cup, but has performed really impressively already here at this World Cup in Borås. We will look through the list. Aleksandr Rohala as well. There's 2 Finns in this semi-final. Mikko Kemala looked very impressive. Gustav Bergman, who was only just outside the medals on Thursday in the sprint, and our winner from the individual sprint on Thursday, Kasper Fosse. He looked fantastic in the quarterfinals. He didn't come into this competition with a whole load of confidence, but he knows it was a really good performance. He had that speed in the individual sprint. There are still some question marks around him in terms of injury. He had a stress fracture this year, another stress fracture, and I think has been running through some pain already. He's not really been doing his ideal training. But there they go, those 6 all the way out from the start, really carefully looking at their maps. Mikko Kemala, one of the ones at the front. You can see Eskil Kinnebe just hanging back at this point. And remember, it is only 2 to go through to that final. An easy first control. Oh.
And now for the first time we see the other route choice, and now you can really see that dynamic in the pack. the leader is taking the other route choice. Yeah, we're just following.
Yeah, who got there first was Gustav Bergman was near the front,
Yeah.
Mika Kimmler near the front.
And I mean, it's totally understandable because they know. I mean, they know where the runner's choice is starting, and to take a risk or a known route choice before the runner's choice is really kind of, it's maybe too big of a risk here.
Maybe indeed. So they all go through here together. No risk taking early on, as we would maybe expect, and then they have this control number 2, and then the runner's choice happens. We will see what they have done. Now it is an even split then, an even split between C and A. Fossa, Ruhala and Kimmler both choosing C, Bergman, Shinneberry and Mullane all choosing A. So equal split of those three. Nobody has chosen B at all.
And I think it's because you have to back in at the first one of the runner's choice. You have to go back again. You have to round this fence and then go back in again. And I think this is something you don't really want to do in your on your option.
And the second control of the ones you choose, it's like just further away as well. I think it's obviously a bit further, but we'll see. But of course, they have no idea what the others have chosen. They have no idea if they're going on that same route or the different route. So some of them will have had the control and some of them won't have had that control.
Yeah, but of course, after the first control, they know on which options the others are. So they will get a feeling pretty early on if there is another runner on their option as well.
But it's interesting, they've chosen kind of different route choices here compared to what we've seen in the other semi-finals, actually. We saw them definitely choosing different routes on the C option, certainly.
So it will be very interesting to see at control 5 if they're still together or if we have a small gap. We have seen that with Delaine. It was slightly slower there. This is
two Swedes in the front.
Bergman and August Mullane.
And Casper Foster there in third place. Then everybody else very close together. So interesting.
And now we have this small gap, which opens up a little bit for another route choice here. So maybe we'll see someone taking kind of a risk here. They will
they will go together. And yet those 6 were just very much more spread out. You know, it's hard to tell. Maybe the pace is higher than it was on the one we just had, the second semi-final. It's really hard. It's really hard to tell. But often when the pace is higher, they spread out just that little bit further. And maybe that's what they're trying to do. Maybe that's Gustav Bergman's tactics. He wants to really try and run the legs off Casper Fossa and really pick the pace up really high from the start. August Mullane is hanging on there as well. Casper Fossa in third.
And they are still all more or less together. It's only Eskil Shinneberg who was a little bit of a gap there. He has to be careful now to not let it open too much.
Okay, they head down the small hill towards control number 8. And we've seen a few different route choices and different micro route choices at this point. Now you're starting to, you kind of know there's just a few controls kind of in a straight line coming up. They all go straight on here and then round the building. They know that there are only going to be a few controls left. They've got to try and get in the right position to make a move there.
And you can see how brutal it is for Shinneberg. It's really, I mean, he has been fighting with this small gap now for quite a while, but it's so hard to close it again. It's only a few meters, but it's so hard to get back in contact.
And it takes so much energy out of you that then by the time you get to this run-in, you have nothing left, you know? So that's what's really, every meter counts. Every meter counts. Because you need to be well recovered from the previous races. You want to have had an easy quarterfinal. I don't think there's such thing as an easy qualification. If we look at the men's race, though, you had to be in 2 of the heats within 20 seconds, 21, 22 seconds of actually making it through, to be in that top 12 who'd go through. The other one 32 seconds. You can't have an easy run on that qualification, because there are so many runners who can make it through. Let's have a look at control 10. We can just see in the left-hand corner, they've gone together.
Still no splitting up here. They're all together going at the same route here. I think we will see the decision from control 11 to 12.
Okay, yeah, they're all going together. It's the two Swedes leading the way. And they're still all really close. It's all to play for here. But Gustav Bergman has been leading the way for, I think, ever since the runner's choice, basically. He has been taking the initiative and going the same way.
And no surprise that we see more and more spectators at this spot here, because it's really the one spot you can see the decisions. It's a very good decision to go up there to the street and not go down. That's what we can say after those two first semi-finals.
Okay, Kasper Fosse has hit the front. Gustav Bergman, he takes a risk to go the other way. I don't think it's going to be very good. Maybe that puts August Molén in a good position to make it through to the final. So Kasper Fosse, just from control 10 to 11, he has hit the front, and now we wait to see who are the first ones through. We've got this wide camera angle. We're going to see who's going to make it round the corner first. I think I can see the Norwegian. Molén has managed to just nip ahead. They are the two there. Where's Gustav Bergman? Has he made? Yes, I think that was too much of a risk. You can see how much time it has lost him. And there is a fight out here. Mika Kimela is there as well. But August Molén and Kasper Fosse, they are the two ones here. Is Kasper Fosse going to be beaten here? My goodness me! I think he is. Kasper Fosse misses out. August Molén takes the first place. Mika Kimela into second place. And for me, that was Fosse run out. Oh, my goodness me.
Very strong finish here of August Molén. He did the right decision there, following Kasper Fosse up the hill. And you could see that Gustav Bergman, he felt a bit... he had to do something.
Yeah, he didn't feel like he backed himself. He wanted to take the risk of going the other way.
Unfortunately for him, the runners in front of him, they picked the right route choice there. Otherwise, he would have had the chance to get back into that race again.
I think so. But what was that, like 10 meters back? You know, that's the amount of time that he lost from, or distance that he lost from going there. But my gosh, that's the closest finish we've seen today. Absolutely incredible. The sprinting speed from those three men on the line, and unlucky for Kasper Fosse, who I think on paper you would say would win that heat, but you know, we know he's had a far from ideal winter, and maybe just that 1%, that 0.5% is where it was missing there. But incredible stuff from Mika Kimela and from August Molén to take those two last spots in the final.
Yeah, and I mean, it's brutal with knockout sprint, because Kasper Fosse, he did nothing wrong here in this course. He was in the lead at the very end. He had the right route choice there to the second last control. But it's so small margins between the runners, and if you have a good day, you win this sprint finish. Now today, the others were stronger. Maybe it's also because in other sprint relays before you could pick your heats. Now today you were
knockout sprints, yes, you could.
Yeah, exactly. Here today it was just about the board ranking.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a different situation as well. You had no possibilities to kind of choose your enemies or your competitors. So
that's true. Yeah. Before they've had this opportunity to, everybody crowds round and they all pick which heat they want to go in. But it's based on your result in the qualification. You were automatically assigned a heat, which I don't know. I think it's probably more straightforward for the organisers and for everybody involved. But you see, all of those who picked to go right from 11 to 12, you could just see that the amount of distance that they lost compared to the others was really decisive. So okay, so August Molén, Mika Kimela are the two that go through then from the final semi-final. They complete the six that have made it into that men's final. So we have Matthias Kibert, Tim Robertson, Martin Regborn, Ralph Street, Mika Kimela and August Molén. Those are the six who will compete for 3 medals in the final once we have finished all of the women's as well. 3 kind of quite different semi-finals in terms of some of the tactics, in terms of how close the runners were, where the risks were, but ultimately it's about doing the great orienteering at the end of the course. Okay, we're going to move then on to the women's semi-finals. 3 of those to come. Again, it's the top 3 to make it through. Jonas, why don't you take us through the course again?
I mean, it's more or less the same beginning, or it is the same beginning. You have this short one to the first control, then the route choice to the second control. We've seen in almost all the heats here, there were no differences in the route choice between 1 and 2. If the pack goes to the right, you go to the right. If the pack goes to the left, you follow there. Runner's choice, we only have seen A and C. Then 5 to 6, slightly different here. That's the one we have seen in the GPS or in the preview before. Opens up a little bit more to go to the left there on the Robertson route. There's also opens up to go back out again and run around the building there. After that, after control 7, from control 8, you have the same course again. So we have these different route choice possibilities between 9, 10, and then in the very end towards the second last control again, where we have seen that going up the street again is a very good option.
Yes, but they will not know any of this. They have been hiding over in quarantine after their quarterfinals, recovering, warming up, getting ready for these 3 semi-finals. And to be honest, in terms of the qualification and then the progression from the knockout, from the quarterfinals into the semi-finals, there haven't been too many, or really any shocks in terms of who has got through, or more importantly, who has not got through. But we know there are a lot of Swedish women on this start line, and with the World Cup, the World Championships coming up, they're racing to do well here. They're also racing for national selection. Lina Strand had a really fantastic individual sprint. It's her best ever sprint result with the silver then, and Sarah Hagström was having such a good race in that sprint right up until the end, and she looked really, really strong in her quarterfinals. She knows she's got good form, so she'll be really, really wanting to do something here. So we've got again 4 Swedes here, Norwegian and a Dane, and only 2 to make it through to the final. They've already picked their runner's choice, and now they can head out here into the terrain, taking a look. Malin Egery Christensen looking at a map, taking one of the leading packs there. Lina Strand, Sarah Hagström, both up there and ready to go. So we see what the choice is here. Who gets the first? You could see that the Norwegian Victoria Hestad Bjornstad had looked to the left. She was maybe going to go that way, but she kind of wanted to see what everybody else was doing. And now they all go the same.
Sure, she's seen both options here. In an individual sprint, she would have gone to the left, but I think it's quite a good choice. If you see all the others go to the right, just follow. It's not here you have to decide this semi-final here. Keep in the pack, wait until after the runner's choice, and then try to do something there.
Okay. Here we see them. Okay, everybody chooses A, apart from Sarah Hagström, who chooses B. So she is the first one we've seen in this whole competition so far to choose the B option. Again, A, very, very popular. We think it's a lot more kind of straightforward in the orienteering, especially maybe the entrance into control, into the second of those 2 controls, and then out again into control number 5. But they do actually split up here on their way to the second control.
Very hard to say. There's a lead here. Hagström has to go and back into the control 3 there.
Yeah, they split up a lot more. Here's Lina Strand. And there we go, that's the third control. No hesitation at this point.
And we know that all the others had the same control as Strand, so seems to have a small gap there already. Also see now that Hagström is getting close to control B. Will be interesting. We haven't seen that before, so it will be interesting to see if it's slower or if it's faster or if it's equal.
But do you think Lina Strand has made a gap? She went a slightly different way to number 2, or was it that or just her running speed that's allowed her to take the gap? It's really hard to tell at this point. But she's looking really strong.
Yeah, but of course this is exactly the situation she likes to be in. I mean, she has control over the race. See that it was a good option for Sara Hagström as well. So I think now they will be here together, yes, and they have already a gap there. And this is a very convenient situation. You can feel that you can try to work with this gap and try to push hard in front, but you still have time to take your own decision. You can avoid these stressy situations in the pack.
So this is the Tim Robertson route.
And
they don't have the same control as the men.
Yeah,
See, they have this shorter one, but this is kind of the Tim Robertson route that looks pretty good.
So now this option to the right, I mean, we have seen it has been faster to go to the men's control there, to the left. So now this one to the right is totally out of discussion here. There's no way that this would be faster. There would be an option to go out, to back out
of control 5, yeah.
And then run around. But I think this is a good option here, and especially if everyone is taking it, then again, why risk it here? But at the same time, you already have a gap here.
Oh, it's just growing, this gap. Yeah. These two are looking so strong here, and Sarah, it's hard to know about whether that B forking has had a different kind of opportunity to change things up, but I'd say possibly. And not really.
It will be interesting to see. I mean, everyone, we know about Caroline Olsson's strength to really get into this finish, and her physical ability when she really wants and has to. And it will be interesting to see when she will be kicking it in, because she is already there now. Yep. She will really push to close this gap.
You can see the first two were kind of making a fractions of hesitations. I mean, we're being really, really picky here, but they were making a fraction of hesitation. And is that Lina Strand just kind of going left and right, just running a few extra meters?
And the thing is, of course, she knows there's no forking now, because they had this runner's choice. That's all of the forking. They know that it will be here. So now it's she can stop reading the map and she can focus on closing the gap. Of course, it's maybe not the thing you like most about when we are talking about orienteering, but in this situation, I mean, that's the only chance she has. She has to close that gap, whatever's coming.
Exactly, and she's managing it. She is managing to close the gap, but it's still Sara Hagström out in front, then Lina Strand, and then Caroline Olsson. And these three, I mean, they've been in the national team together for a good number of years. I think they're all pretty close in age together. They'll have been competing against each other in Sweden for years and years and years. They know each other so well, particularly those three, and now to be racing against each other. Oh, and they go through the passage, which is fine.
Position number 6 right now.
A little bit unexpected, but I don't think they will have necessarily lost. I don't know, they have to make a few sharper corners, but I think ultimately those three have now got that gap over the rest of the field. So here is control number 10.
So let's see if there's still a few meters gap. No, I don't think so. Now they're all together, all three of them.
This is what I was saying earlier. You've got to be really distinct when you get into these courtyards to know exactly where the control is. Oh, and... Oh, Lisa Risby.
Oh, I think...
Panicking there. I don't think it's good to go out the back, but that's it. You're losing those seconds to make that decision is a crucial one there. But then there's still a route choice here. You could go the different ways around the building. Oh, and they are splitting up then. Okay. So Olsson choosing the different way, Hagström and Strand. This is probably similar, but then it's which way you choose when you go. Olsson maybe is setting up a good route the other way if she runs straight to the next one. Oh yes, I think
Oh,
it's
that was a
advantage
good
Caroline
route.
Olsen there. I think
So
that was
now
really good.
It looks good for Strand and Olsson here. Very smart decision by Caroline Olsson.
Yeah, she's set up the opportunity at this control to run straight through the control and then take the shorter route from 11 to 12. So I think that was really, really smart of her. This is the last control then. Let's see who is here first. You can see there, that looks like Caroline Olsen and Lena Strand. Where are the others? Lena Strand is in first, Caroline Olsen in second. They're looking back behind and they've got a big gap. That was really decisive at the end of the semi-final. Lena Strand looks behind. She doesn't need to push too hard. It's just her and Caroline Olsen. So Lena Strand and Caroline Olsen then up through the running. They don't have to fight too hard. They know it's just the two of them to make it through, and that's a big gap over the rest of the field. Lena Strand and Caroline Olsen then are the first two through to the women's final, and really quality orienteering at the end of that course.
And we can definitely say it's very important that you picked the right route there to the second last control. It was interesting to see Olsson. She had a big gap there in the middle of the race. She was quite many seconds behind, and you could really see how she was fighting back into the competition, into this semi-final, and of course now into the final. And I thought it was quite courageous to choose your own to the, we've seen that, to the third last control when she went the other round. Because my feeling is that she would know that she would beat all the others in a sprint finish and doesn't really need to risk it, but at the same time, I mean, I like this, it's very active orienteering. It was a good choice and it paid off.
Yeah, I think you've absolutely put it really well.
And I think here you could see why she was a few seconds behind. She was hesitating there just before control 3. And good to be also known now that HB is very fast as well. So Strand made kind of a gap there.
Well, this is the thing about the knockout, like, I think when it was first introduced, you think, oh, there's always a worse option, and you really need to, it's really crucial to pick the right option, but I don't think that's really its function. Like, its function is to make sure everybody does orienteering and making sure everybody is actively reading the map and not just following. I think it forces everybody to do orienteering.
And here we have seen them come out through this passage. We haven't seen anyone before running. And here, that's what I'm talking about. Very soon. I didn't expect them to split up here, but it paid off. And especially here, she could continue in the same direction. And it's good if you don't have to stop and turn and speed up again. And then at the next control 12, if you come from the right route choice, you have to kind of make a 90 degrees turn again, and it slows you down so much. It costs a lot of energy.
That's ultimately where Sarah Hagström lost out in that race, I think. Okay, right, we are straight on to the second semi-final for the women, and for me, this is really, really tight. This is going to be a really, really exciting race, I think, here. Martina Ruch, Marika Taney, Andrina Benjaminsen, Tove Alexanderson, Emma Biesma, Eleanor Ross. Really quality field here for this semi-final. I mean, they're all world-class athletes, but this one is really exciting for me.
Yeah, it's not the one semi-final you would pick on your own to be in, really.
No, it really isn't. But interesting to see that Tove Alexanderson didn't win her qualification. She didn't win her. I don't think she won the quarterfinal either. So it's going to be really interesting as they all just take a good amount of time to look at their maps. Okay, let's see which direction they go, and we expect them all to stay together to this control. Who reaches the first?
But here is
Tove Alexanderson. She is the one who's made the choice. Oh, and they do split up. Emma Biesmo is the only one to have gone the other way, but
yeah, but
I think she's losing seconds in just
she
making
should
that
not
choice.
have hesitated.
No.
That's the problem. I just was about to say, if there is a heat where they could split up, it's here, because they all are very good individual sprinters. So you could really pick your own and trust your orienteering and your skills in sprint orienteering, but you shouldn't hesitate that much. If you're like unsure if you go to this on this route choice, then just follow the others.
Okay, Alexanderson has got the different runner's choice to everybody else. Everybody else is doing A. She is doing C, but she's already got a gap. You could just that confidence at that first control is characteristic of Tove Alexanderson. She didn't stop. She isn't going to wait for anybody else. She hasn't got time for anybody else. She doesn't need to care about what anybody else does. And she has got that tactic to just go straight out of the start. But Emma Biesmo hasn't lost any time on this pack by going the other route choice.
And I think her route would have been faster, but she hesitated for just a bit too long.
You could count a couple of seconds there. All the others had moved away from that control and she was still there going, should I go, should I not go? So remember, Alexanderson has C here, everybody else has A, so we would expect them to split up here.
I think way off Alexanderson right now.
But looks like Eleanor Ross is leading out this group. Andrina Benjaminsen there in second place, and Biesmo just overtaking Marie Katani on this corner.
You can see how important it is for her to work her way up in this pack here to a better position. And of course, this is a situation Tove Alexanderson really likes, to be on her own, in the lead, on her own option, no one around. She is very confident in doing her own race here. I think this looks...
It's ideal situation.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You don't have this nervous situation of other runners around you. I mean, there's always something that can happen. You can run towards the control, have to back out, and then you run into the others coming around the corner. And she has got a lot of time now to do her own race, to her own orienteering.
Feel comfortable.
Has even some time to double check the route choice here.
Yeah, then she has those extra safety seconds, you know, the opportunity to play it safe there. Everybody else really close, and obviously that point they'll have seen how far Alexanderson is ahead. What do you think if you're at this point in this chasing pack? Do you just go, right, well, one of us goes through?
Yeah, I think it's very hard. The gap is quite big, of course. You shouldn't give up here. Always something can happen, but it makes it more difficult because now you have to win kind of the race of those 5 other competitors.
It adds the stress levels go up again.
Yeah, of course. And as we've seen before, everything can happen. I mean, you can just run into someone else, or you can just struggle with the last route choice and the race is over. So it's of course it would be better for them to close the gap again to Alexanderson, but the gap is so big it will need a small mistake of her. So we have still Elena Roos, and now they're splitting up here. Andrina Benjaminsen choosing a slightly different route here. You see them. It's actually a good choice by Benjaminsen because they have to go there as well. Might give her a few meters back. Yes, here she is together with Elena Roos.
Yeah, right on her shoulder. And that feeling of hearing somebody else's breath around you, hearing someone else's footsteps, like it's so unusual.
You can play some mental games.
You really can. Oh, nearly going down the wrong path there, easy to do.
And you can still see it's a big gap here. Tove Alexandersson, she has even the possibility to choose the wrong route there at the end.
So, how often have we said that for Tove Alexandersson? Oh, she's chosen the wrong route, but she's still managed to
And
take
here we
it.
see they're splitting up. Biesmo going more, taking the left route choice there. Is she? Yeah.
I think so. Here's Tove Alexandersson in control 10.
The interesting will be the group behind. There is Benjaminsen, there is Elena Roos, and here is Biesmo. Oh, and the mistake.
Oh, where is the control? It's just hidden behind there. You've got to be so distinct, and Benjaminsen may be losing a couple of strides.
You could also see that it paid off for Emma Biesmo to take this other route here. Good work there. But now it's really this part that the most important part maybe.
And this is the way, I think, Alexandersson, that's the way you want to go, really, if you're going to set up a good route to 11 and a good route to 12 as well. Let's see what happens when
Split
we
up
have
here. Benjaminsen taking the Alexandersson route.
It's control 11 then. And she
course.
actually goes the slower route then, I think, Alexandersson.
But it won't matter.
It won't matter at all. It really
Let's
matters
see
for
here. This
the
is
other
the
places. Benjaminsen,
Of course,
oh
she
no.
sees that, and now it looks good
Good
for
for
Elena
Elena
Roos
Roos.
here. Of course, they saw Alexandersson going to this on this route there when she exited this, so it looks really good for Elena Roos here now.
Okay, so we're expecting to see Alexandersson through the first one to this last control. Here she is. She's had a gap all the way from the being so decisive at the first control. Here is Elena Roos.
Oh, this is Benjaminsen.
Benjaminsen, it's looking good for the Norwegian here.
Oh, this gap is
This is
big.
close, to be honest. Can she work hard? She just takes a little look over her shoulder. And for me, she's looking confident, but Elena Roos is such a machine. She is so fast. She makes it look so easy. It does Tove Alexandersson. She has come to be qualified. And in second place here, it's too much to do for Elena Roos. Andrina Benjaminsen making it through then.
And it was actually the first time we've seen that someone
Went that way and
didn't win on it.
Yes, but Elena Roos was still a few seconds behind Benjaminsen anyway at that control. That was really impressive. But 5 seconds clear then for Alexandersson. And as we recover from this race, we've been handed a bit of paper about the third men's semi-final. And what we have is the news that 4 men in that semi-final have been disqualified. We're not sure why at this point, but it looks like Kasper Fosse and Eskil Shinneberg were the only 2 not to be disqualified from that third semi-final. So they have been promoted then into the final. So bad luck for Mika Kimela and August Molen, who we thought were going to go through, but we have been handed a bit of paper that says they have been disqualified. So it will change for the men's final.
Here we see Alexandersson, she opened the gap really early. This race here, ready towards the second control.
The women athletes here will then waiting for the men's final and
The group behind chasing here.
36 runners became 18 runners.
You can also see that Martina Roos a bit early had to open a gap and kind of never was in the fight for this final position here. Here we had the different route by Emma Biesmo paid off, and a small mistake here, some hesitation. And then different routes here towards control 11 again. Then Elena Roos, as we said before, it was kind of the first time we've seen someone going to the left there and not really winning on it.
A surprise. Surprising anyway. Through are Tove Alexandersson and Andrina Benjaminsen. They join Lena Strand and Caroline Olsen in this final. So now we go through to the third semi-final. You can have a look at the lineup here. For me, the big favourite for this semi-final is Hanna Lundberg. She won the qualification by 22 seconds. That was absolutely incredible, and we know her speed is very good from the individual sprint as well. We know it's looking really, really good for her. She's going to be full of confidence. And then for me, that the second one to go through, that's going to be really tight for me, to be honest. I think between Simona Abersold, Susie Janashikova, Megan Carter-Davies, I think that's maybe where it's going to come from. Interesting, Megan Carter-Davies won the quarterfinal. Those three were all in the same quarterfinal, and Megan Carter-Davies won it. So Hanna Lundberg taking the lead there at this point. They're all going to, now what we don't want to see is any hesitations at this first control.
Let's see here. Hanna Lundberg taking the lead here early. It would be interesting to see if all of them go here. Yes, indeed.
Simona Abersold, interesting at that point, just kind of sitting back and, a bit of a hesitation. Has she got the right gap?
Something I really don't understand. I mean, she knows where the runner's choice will start. She could just follow the others if she's not sure about the route choice.
So this is where Abersold goes round.
I think she will be losing at that.
It's further as well from the...
That's a mistake. It'll be tough for her to get back into this group again. But here we are with Hanna Lundberg, and you can see she's really pushing hard here. She's taking control from the beginning. She doesn't want to be involved in any problems with other runners. Here we have actually two runners with the B option.
And you see the gap then, Abersold at the back, everybody going through this route the same way. Lundberg, Salikova and Carter-Davies all with A, Drakon and Janashikova in with B.
Men det är ingen löpare som vet vad den andra löparen på andra sidan planket har. Så att man kan ju inte vara säker på någonting när man ger sig ut från startpositionen. Man kan ju börja ana sig.
But Abersold has a lot to do now to try and catch up. Again, splitting up.
You can see it's 7-8 seconds here already. And it's so tough because you always get the feedback that you are quite far behind. And of course she knows how many seconds she was hesitating. She might have noticed even that her route didn't really pay off.
Course B, Megan Carter-Davies, Jana Stenikov and Hanna Lundberg. They are chasing the A controls. You see Lundberg already done.
See also that Janashikova and Drakon, they were actually choosing differently on the B option. So now here we have Hanna Lundberg in the lead, and it's a big lead already.
It's a really big lead for Hanna Lundberg, and now there's also a gap. Now Megan Carter-Davies has got a gap over the rest of the field. There is Salikova as well in the background, but big gaps at the top of the field here after this runner's choice.
You can see big gaps almost between all of the runners.
Janashikova a little bit further down, and now Abersold goes a different way. And for her, she knows she's, maybe she's got that feedback. She's got to do something different to make any difference. If she is 16 seconds behind Megan Carter-Davies.
Yeah, I mean, she knows that no one came from this direction, so the only thing she can do now is that, go all in and try something. But I mean, the gap is so big. It will be very tough for her. Yeah,
it will be really hard for her. We see Lundberg through, we see Carter-Davies through as well, and then down onto this seventh control here. And this, we can see the difference of Abersold, but for me, she's going to lose even more time here. So we know she was just ahead of Drakon at that point.
A bit unnecessary to go in there as well. She could have continued and then cut a little bit over the field there.
And this semi-final, very different again to the ones we've seen before, with much bigger gaps opening up. And maybe again you take some safety seconds to just choose that, or because you haven't had anybody in front of you maybe that you can see which way they're going. It's,
yeah, I mean, you can see it here.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
no one you see. She's kind of doing the individual sprint here. I wonder if she even knows and with which position she is.
No, it's hard to tell. She is in third, as you can see there. But really, those little hesitations can only mean good things for Carter Davies and for Lundberg. And the gap is bigger here. And then maybe looking better for Yanashikova. There you can go. You can see she has caught up her teammate. Maybe good feedback for her, less good feedback for Stalikova. And again, they split up. They go the different way around this long building to go to the boulder on the other side of it. Don't think there's much really in that route choice.
You can see the gap is really big. It's very good. Looks very good for Anna Lundberg and Carter Davies. And of course, they know about their situation. They can, I wouldn't say relax, but they can kind of slow down a little bit. They don't have to go all in, of course. They don't have to go for a final sprint from the second last to last and control and to finish. And that's a very good situation. Regarding
is
the
she going to
final.
see what it is? There it is. Just not quite distinct as to where exactly that control was, but it shouldn't matter for her that she's got a big gap over the rest of the field and out in the same direction. Those are the top two. It's only the top two to make it through to the final. Here are the two Czechs. They are together. Yanashikova has managed to catch up a little bit of time on Stalikova, but still not very distinct into the control. Yanashikova has just got it better, but maybe she's now going to head. You can't go out that way. You have to turn around here. And everybody having some difficulties at that point. Here's the leader though, Hanna Lundberg, all the way through at control number 11. She's going to take the good route choice then to go to 12. We wait now for Megan Carter Davies. It's also looking good for her to make it through to this final. She's going to go the other way. We think it's a bit slower, but it shouldn't matter. The gap on this one is big, really, really big. You can see the difference between all of those runners. It would be interesting now to see if a third runner was, in a hypothetical situation that three runners make it through. That fight for the third place will be really tricky. But actually now, what does this mean for these runners here to have not have to push and fight for their place on the finish line here of this semi-final? Maybe it's going to give them a little bit more extra in the legs for the final.
I mean, of course, look at the speed of Hanna Lundberg here. She can be really jogging here. She knows that she is through. She can take it, in a very easy speed. And I mean, she has been more or less the whole race here. She has been in a very convenient situation. She didn't have to push too hard. She knew about the gap. She knew that there's no one around her. And at the same time, I mean, she's in the last semi-final. She has a bit less time to recover, but now, I mean, it's not a bit as big of a disadvantage here because she didn't have to push too hard.
No, she did not at all. So here are the last few runners. Such a big gap between the top two, and then these next few coming through here. This looks like Yanashikova, I think, here into the finish. Simona Abersol has managed to catch up a little bit of time. And then Stalikova and Jacobon at the end. Goodness me, Simona Abersol, I mean, really lost all of that right at the start from taking that different route choice and the hesitations through there. You've really just got to go with the pack at the start, and she made the wrong route choice here.
You can see it here first. Here she stayed quite for a long time, then she chose a different option here, and you see that it's a very long way around. Then she backed down here. She could have continued there and come from this direction into the control. And you see already here, Anna Lundberg, she has a big gap, and from here she is more or less safe. I mean, the gap is so big. She knows that she didn't make a mistake. Here you can see quite far as well. You see that there's no other runner around you, so that's for her this was quite an easy semi-final, and also it's kind of the same for Carter Davis. Of course, she has Stalikova behind her here, but the gap here is also about 10 seconds. You can take a look back, you see no one there really.
Here being very indistinct, I think, to this one from 8 to 9. Like, we saw how much she was hesitating. Exactly. She just dropped back in the pack there. Once you lose kind of sight of that runner in front, she was dropping back.
But at the same time, I mean, it's also it gives you also a good feeling if you have been in the situation. If you take, for example, Caroline Olsson, who has she had to fight for her position in the final, and she now won this fight. She knows, she got confident that if I am in the fight for it, I can do it on the last control. I have a good final 50, 100 meters as well, and they didn't really had the chance to test this part. Of course, they're very happy that they didn't have to do it, but at the same time, if you were in the situation and you succeeded in it, it gives you a good feedback as well.
Yeah, it really does. So the recovery starts, the trying to get in a good place to be on the start line then for the two finals that we have about to come up. They're going to start in the next couple of minutes, the men's first and then the women's final here. And some incredible orienteering. I think maybe when we had a look at the course at the beginning, we wouldn't really know like what the characteristics of the race would be, whether there would be much opportunities to take a risk towards the end, but really we have seen that is kind of been able to pay off. So we will get preparing for an amazing final. We hear from I think someone who has managed to get through.
So Emil Svensk, you just ran the semi-final here. How did you experience it? How did you experience your run?
Yes, it was a really cool course and cool competition. So yeah, it was really fun.
And you didn't make it onto the final. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's not a good feeling to miss the final, of course. Yeah, the feeling was really good in the whole course. Yeah.
And what did you think became like the decisive moment out there?
What do you mean, decisive moment?
Why did it end like it did? Why did Reikborn and Krittmore go on and you didn't?
I was first in the third last control and took other route choice to the second last, and then I lost some meters from on Ralph, and then I was really tight in the last meter. So yeah, miss.
Okay, and you were 4 Swedes in the same heat. Did that have any influence on the run, you think?
No, of course, all want to compete.
And now you have a sprint relay tomorrow. Are you able to focus on that now and have positive thoughts on that, or are you just disappointed with today's race?
Yeah, of course, I'm really disappointed with today. So yeah, we will see you in the afternoon.
The second and third is male athletes. It's a mixed.
Okay, interesting stuff then from Emil Svensk, who wasn't the one who was able to get through then to the final. We can have a look now at this final course. We've got the same start and the same finish as well. We've got a few different route choice options here from control 1 and control number 2 as well. They go up on this larger hill. Control number 5, you've got a route choice to make it down on the slope as well. Then again, a few different route choices between 7 and 8, which is also we've already had a look at. Then we have a long run through here. We go through this arena one time, a lot of running, you know, jostling for position, all of that. Then they go out another time for a short loop and maybe some opportunities to take a few route choices, maybe from 10 to 11. It's going to be really, really interesting. And so we've just had the start list then for the men's ladies final, and after getting a bit of paper saying some people have been disqualified, we've got a whole other list of people making through. Jonas, you just had a chat. What do we know?
We had actually got Kasper Fosser back in this final. We have 7 runners in this final. We got to know it was a jury decision, so we don't really know why it happens. There was some part with a fence or with something that didn't really work, and the jury decision is at least that now we have 7 runners in the final.
So we thought August Molén and Mika Kimmela had been disqualified. They haven't been disqualified anymore because they are now on this list. But Kasper Fosser, who was 3rd, run out in that really, really tight sprint finish, has been advanced into that final. So as you can see here, we've got 7 men now into this final. 7 men, only 3 can take the medals, and a good whole mixture of nations represented then in this final.
It will be interesting to see how they solve it at the start here. With 7 runners. This is August Molén.
But they don't have to choose a different map here. They don't have to be separated from each other. So this man very excited to be advanced here, looking very, very happy. He didn't think he had made it. And then I'm sure, all of the emotions that he's been feeling in the last half an hour, not going through, then going through, what is happening? Goodness me, a lot of tricky situations here. And this is how they solve it, 2 next to each other here. And this is a very, very exciting final of this knockout sprint. I mean, too close to call, really, having seen those semi-finals. I think it's going to be really tight.
And we were talking about the importance of positioning in the group with 6 runners. Now it's 7 runners. It's even more important that you have a good position here. Usually in the finals we see quite active runners with individual decisions. I hope we will see that again. You mentioned it when we went through the course. There are possibilities to go on your own route. It's just in the final loop. Let's say it's kind of the same again. 3 controls before the finish. We will have it. It will kind of change and it will be very physical. We'll have a long run in, and now we are in. Following them around on the route. They have been, a few of them have been on the semi-final again as well.
Yeah, so it's interesting to see, like, some of them will have been here before, some of them won't have been here before. We've got these, oh yes, they missed the gap.
Yeah.
It's very, very easy to do because it's so soon after you come out of that control, and then they knew they were looking for it. We've got all these building works here that make perfect barriers for sprint orienteering for knockout sprint.
It's also very difficult with the cameraman here in this because he's getting involved in the decision here. When they turn again after a mistake, he is, of course, standing in their way. Now they split up here. This is not a very important decision. It's either to go left around the house or to the right. They will come together again. You see it here.
Yeah.
Towards the 3rd control.
I think, again, in 3 and 4, that's just a little transport leg around the back of this house here. But then we have a route choice.
And you can also see the one who really had... it was a good situation for Kiburtz that they have the hesitation there because he was in the 2nd last spot. Before they had to change direction there, the small mistake to the 2nd control. So for him and his position in the pack, it was really good that this happened. And now they are going up a hill there, and actually a possibility for some route choices here. It seems that they all follow Kiburtz to the right here, climbing up the hill towards control 5.
Take this little gap through the building and then up the hill. You can go a few different ways again. Going down the hill, don't think it's going to matter too much, but here's the pack.
You can see that the positions they changed again. Kiburtz now reading the map very intensely.
And they do split up. If you go more to the left, or actually no, they're not splitting up too much, to be honest. Some maybe will go towards the steps behind this kind of castle building at the top of this hill. They will all choose to run on the grass though, going downhill, I'm certain of it. Here we go then. And Ralph Street has a gap ahead of Mika Kimela. Looks like Martin Rayborn in third, and they do go round the gaps round here.
Kibbutz. We haven't seen him yet.
There's not really too much, though, in terms of decision making. Doesn't really matter too much on this one to number 6. But then there is an opportunity to go a different way to number 7. You can go. You should probably go through the middle and take this S-bend through the middle of this
actually
course.
what the course planners think is the fastest. You go back out here again, and then you take this entrance here. Actually, there are only a few runners taking it. I think this is the fastest. I think they will win on it, and we will see those runners most probably slightly behind now. Let's see here.
Let's see here, control number 7.
Yes, indeed.
And it's good to go through, very good to go through. So the 3 who went through, really good for them, but there's still a lot of the course left to go, I think.
Yeah, and they have a second loop as well, so they have an arena passage. So now there is a route choice here to control 8 as well.
Yeah, with Hugo kind of through this section. They've all been there before, they kind of know what it looks like.
You can turn to the left here, or you can continue and turn left later on. I think it's a good choice to go in here already. So we have Robertson, we have Rayborn. I think it was Kibbutz there in third, yes indeed.
Foster in 4th, Street in 5th, Mika Kimler in 6th. Okay, so very soon then we're going to see them through this arena passage here before they have to do a map exchange, not map exchange, map flip, and then they go out on this really, really short second loop. They're all very
Now
close.
you have a long way here where it's just physical. You can push really hard to get in front here. It's only few controls left after this.
Oh, but it's so close at this point. It's really, really close here still between these runners, but Tim Robertson being really active. He is leading the way through here. So they switch their map and they are all looking really closely here. So Tim Robertson has got a few meters ahead of Matthias Kibbutz and Martin Rayborn.
And now they have a short first control on this second loop, and then in my opinion it's the last route choice towards control 11, and this will be quite decisive there.
Yes, I think this will be really decisive. There's not really any, there's only one real option to 12. I think only one good one anyway. No route choice to 13, and then it's all running.
Still Robertson, Kibbutz here. Kibbutz, and now we see that they're splitting up. I said it, it's the last chance here to choose a different route. Now
And
let's
I
see.
don't think you want to go this way. I think you want to go the other way.
And let's see, we will soon get the result of it. This is Robertson.
Oh no, I think you do want to go this way. I forgot which
See
way.
the others there, Kibbutz going all the way around.
Because if you go towards the right, it's in this yellow bit. You have to kind of go back round. We do have a camera at this control, so we will
Will
see.
be interesting now. We have
have a look.
Robertson
Here we
here,
go.
we have Kibbutz here, so it didn't really matter so much. Good punching there of Kibbutz. And straight coming through the bushes. And now it's mostly physical towards the finish. Kibbutz taking the lead here.
Yeah, and he's got a big gap then here. He's managed to go ahead of everybody else, I think. And then it's really close between
And
everybody else. Let's
It's
have a look.
really just about running from here.
Okay, they're really, really fighting very hard here. Matthias Kibbutz is there, Martin Rayborn, Tim Robertson. Oh, this is going to be a really, really good sprint finish there. Ralph Street off the back, he can't make it, but it's looking very good for Matthias Kibbutz. There is second through to 6, all close together. Let's have a look at the finish line. Who is going to make it? It's looking very good for the Swiss team. Matthias Kibbutz winning his second World Cup knockout in a row. He is doing this really well. And it is a burn up. Tim Robertson, can he get another second place? He can. And August Moulin taking the third place, I think, then just ahead of Casper Foster, taking it ahead of Kimela and Foster as well. So Kibbutz, Robertson and Moulin as well.
And it was very well done here. You could see that it wasn't the best decision by Kibbutz towards control 11. He had a really good punching there, and he kind of yeah, he used this touch free very well. He wasn't really at the control. He was a few centimeters away, didn't go all the way, and it felt really fast there. And then in the end, it just opened the gap and pushed really hard. He knew about his physical strength there and could play it out very well. Also very well done of August Molin here in one of his first World Cup, it must be, and taking a medal here. So let's see here the recap. Here he was a bit behind Kiburtz, then this small mistake where everyone had to turn. Here, and you could see again, they split it up quite often. They had the individual choices here. Then they came all together up to control 5. Here they split up again. Kiburtz going towards the stairs here, then choosing the option to the right together with Kasper Fosser and August Molin. And then here, different route choices. It was better to go through the building there, the passage, and then the last route choice before the map change, getting towards the arena. Still all of them together, and then now the very decisive part. Interesting here, the first control easy, and then the different routes here. Robertson with a good choice here, but the punching, it really was good. It was really good by Kiburtz. He was 1 second behind, but then made the difference here out of control 11 towards control 12 to control 13, and I think we will hear a few words of Kiburtz now very soon.
I think we all had a joy following this final. How did you experience it out there?
Yeah, it was a tough course. All the time a bit changing the lead, some small mistakes from the leaders, so it was always changing the position. Yeah, and I'm really happy that at the end I had clear routes and an easy execution plan, and this worked well.
Yeah, and you seem to split up on the last loop. How did you experience that situation where Tim went the other way and you continued on your course?
Yeah, this is always a really difficult situation, but I knew I have to focus on my own. I haven't checked his route, so I just followed my plan. And we really came in at the same time to the third last control. And from there on, I knew it by heart where to go. So I think they also had a crash there, so that's why I got a small gap. So maybe they're a bit lucky, but I think I could also have managed it the other way.
And there's World Championships in Denmark in just a month. What does it mean for your confidence to win here in Sweden?
Yeah, of course, it's great to win the last test race. But on the other hand, it's also putting a bit pressure. Now I'm European champion. I won the last World Cup, so I expect a good result in Denmark, and I think a lot of others. So, yeah, but of course, it's better to win than to be placed second.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thanks.
He had a clear plan, he executed that plan, and he had an extra gear really coming out of the end there.
Yeah, it was very interesting to hear that he didn't see the option or even check the option of Robertson. He was just, okay, I have my plan, I don't know where it's going, but I go the way I decided to. I have to do that. It will cost too much time to to kind of change my mind. And also interesting to hear that from the third last control he knew by heart where to go. He had to prepare that one, even if you didn't have a lot of time to prepare it, because you had to change, you have to switch the map, and it just gives you, he must have done it on the way to control 11 or 10, and that's really tough to do. So well executed there.
It's amazing how much information these top runners are able to take in so quickly and then remember and then execute just in this short space of time.
But in this special occasion here, it wasn't too hard because it was really an easy second last control, and it was an easy last control. So of course he could kind of, it was just left and right, and then you were at the control more or less. But still you have to find the time to do that, and that is really impressive.
And it helps they'd already been there before. Anyway, it is the same course then, I think, for the women. We will talk through it as well. So a couple of route choices early on, and then again up this hill to the 5.
You could see that it was kind of messy towards control 2 with all the building stuff going on there. You could there are actually a few route choices there as well. Then control 6 to 7, very good route if you go through the passage there between the buildings. 7-8, another route choice. And as we've seen now, it is important to read ahead if directly after switching the map and get an advantage a few seconds maybe from 11 to 12. Stairs. I mean, you have been running there. You've seen where the lane is splitting up into the second loop and the finish. And I think you can switch the map you do it when you punch the last control of the first loop.
All right, then let's have a look then at the lineup for this women's final. Not any difficulties here, but what a strong field. We have Lina Strand, Carolyn Olsen, Andrina Benjaminsen, Tova Alexandersson, Hannah Lundberg, and Megan Carter-Davis. And we saw two heats really where there were big gaps at the start of the field, with Tova Alexandersson and Hannah Lundberg both having really big gaps over the rest of the field. Lina Strand and Carolyn Olsen had to fight for it a lot more to be the ones who would make it through. So all sorts of, I'm sure, emotions and feelings on this start line with all their different experiences, and for even to make it through, for both the finals, to make it through even to the final. The competition is so intense. When you get to the semi-final stage, it's just really fantastic for them. And of course, they'll kind of know they didn't have to make a choice here. There may still be loops here. They don't know that they're all going the same way, but obviously once you open your map up, you can tell very quickly what it is going to be. Okay. Last few seconds then, ready for this start. The camera needs to get out of the way because they're really soon going to have this women start. Oh, last few seconds. See who takes the medals. Half of these women will take a medal then here at this knockout sprint final, and Hannah Lundberg goes to the front, followed by Megan Carter-Davis and then Tova Alexandersson.
I mean, she's still a junior, and we have seen that in the semi-final. She wants to take the lead. She wants to be up there. She wants to go and do her own race here, take her own decisions, and I think that's really good to see.
And you can see, was it Lina Strand there who kind of hung off the back, really kind of watching to see where everybody else went there, and she's maybe spent less energy, and she's not lost much pace behind the ones at the start.
But this here now it's a bit difficult. You run into the control, you have to back out, you have to work your way to the control when the others come back. So sometimes it's really good to be in the lead in the beginning already. It's less nervous, you have a bit more time to prepare the second control. But of course you can prepare the second control towards the first control as well. So it's always, everything has advantages and disadvantages, of course.
Yeah, and they all drop down in that same direction. It looks like Lundberg, Tova Alexandersson and Carter-Davis still at the front.
They really like to see that. I mean, Hannah Lundberg, she's really taking her own decisions. You could see it here. Tova Alexandersson, maybe the best orienteer, female orienteer the last years, going to the left. She continues, executes the route she has decided on beforehand. That's really good to see.
And those three, a little bit of small gap over Carolyn Olsen then in fourth at this point. And they're all just reading this route here. Oh, now they split up.
It's a bit surprising when you run around the corner here. There is a fence, you can see it on the map, but it is quite big, and it looks like you can see it here. It looks, when you come there on the map, of course, you can jump over, but it is higher than expected.
It really is. And now they split up and go these different routes. Carter-Davis will probably head back towards control number 2. Well, no, she doesn't. She will take this route round in the middle, I think.
I think
it's pretty okay. Okay, now they've got to come up this hill. Here she is on this right-hand side. The others will come from the other direction.
Yeah, where are the others?
They will be on the other side of the shot.
It's a good decision by Megan Carter-Davis. You can also see that a few of the others were running away to the left on this area. I think it's better to stay to the left here, the way where Tuve was, if you leave to the right from the control.
Yeah, I think that was definitely a good option. Yeah, if you stay to the left of the camera picture just now.
You can see a small gap there between Olsson and Lina Strand.
Okay, then they head back down this hill. There's a few different route choices to take on this way to controls number 6, but I don't think any of them really make too much of a difference, to be honest. So Tove Alexandersen now a little bit gap over Lundberg, but Carter Davis is out in the lead at the moment.
Didn't see where Carter Davis went. Yes, she stopped there. So all of them taking the same route. And then to the next one. There's this good option, backing out from the control again. Use this small passage right after control. And run between the buildings to control 7. You've seen that in men's race. It was a good option. Carter Davis choosing to go the way where we see.
Does anybody go through? Not yet. Does Lundberg go through? No, nobody's seen that option yet. That is interesting. We haven't seen which way everybody's taken. Benny Minson goes round. It was whether we saw Strand and Olsen go round or going through. But here then is our leader, Megan Carter Davis, just getting that last one.
Hesitating there.
A little bit of a hesitation. And then they've been through this section. So Lundberg in 3rd, Benjaminsen 4th, Olsen in 5th. So Strand then, who took silver medal in the individual sprint. She is off the back at the moment in 6th place. And now we see they do have a route choice again through to number 8. We expect them probably to kind of go wiggle through this way where they had control number 2 on the semi-final. They've been here before, they kind of know what it looks like.
Yeah, and as expected, Carter Davis turning up there, using the small steps towards the control. Here she is. You can also see that the gap is slightly smaller now.
Yeah, I guess Alexandersen has managed to catch up a few steps, but then there is now a big gap here, bigger gap towards Lundberg, and Benjaminsen still hot on the heels of the Swedes. So 3rd, 4th and 5th, very close. So now it's a fairly easy control then into number 9, and we have this arena passage through here, and then just this small little loop now, this last part where you've really got to keep your head.
It will be interesting to see if Carter Davis trying to kind of push hard here to let the gap grow, or if she's kind of letting Alexandersen getting in contact again.
I mean, very special position to be in, really, to be leading through this knockout sprint final, to be the best in the world. And she takes the arena passage in the lead. Alexandersen is looking really strong to catch up as well.
Now it's only 4 controls left. We have this quite easy first one, control number 10, and then we have the route choice, the final route choice of this course towards control 11.
But both of those runners looking super relaxed. I don't think Alexandersen's really managed to catch up any distance. The gap is kind of the same for me. But do they split up, or do they go this same way around? It actually doesn't look too different, I think, from what we saw Kiberts do. So what happens with these 2 runners?
Be very
Carter
interesting
Davis
now.
will go straight on, so will Alexandersen. You either got to go up these steps here or up the track.
Interesting now. When will Tove start to push and really try to close the gap here? You could stay closer to that building there.
Yeah, you could have cut that around the corner, but you don't want to hit the old man who's in the way.
So there's still this gap. We have seen that gap for quite a few minutes now.
You've got to come in here. You've got to be really distinct as you go the way through.
Whoa.
Alexandersen maybe catching up a few meters by just cutting through there. Then you've got to go kind of round and back in on yourself to get to this control number 11. 12 is much easier, then it's all about the running. So Carter Davis is still in the lead, but Alexandersen is there. Benjaminsen now into 3rd place. I think she's pulled up.
And now it's really just running left here, and here we have the fight between Alexandersen and Carter Davis.
So Alexandersen in the lead. She's just overtaken the Brits then, and they're on their way to the control number 12. They've got to round this corner. Benjaminsen there, she is fighting for 3rd place currently.
And I got the feeling that Alexandersen was slightly better prepared for this final part here, pushing very hard to the second last control.
And we lost Hannah Lundberg. I don't know what happened to her, because she was really close to Benjaminsen here. But she hasn't managed to do anything here. So we will see the two leaders here. Tove Alexanderson, she is going to take another gold medal here at the home World Cup. Tove Alexanderson has just been in the right position the whole way. I want to see who's in third place as well. But Tove Alexanderson soon to round the corner. Here she is. She can celebrate here on this line. Going to take a second consecutive gold. I mean, and what a fantastic result as well for Megan Carter-Davies. She takes her first ever medal on the World Cup. Amazing result from Megan Carter-Davies. And Andrina Benjaminsen maybe a little bit disappointed with her sprint result, and she's really done well. There's a fight out here. Lena Strand is here. She's just overtaken Caroline Olsen. And what has happened to Hannah Lundberg? She is in 6th place. She was right up there fighting for the medals, and ultimately it will be 6th place for her. Taking condolences, a shake of the head there from Hannah Lundberg, but the winner really, it was Tove Alexanderson again. She wasn't leading all the way around, but she had enough in the tank to just have that extra gear. She was so well prepared for this last loop and was just able to take that distance ahead of Megan Carter-Davies.
And I think also that it was kind of a matter of experience. You could really see how precise Alexanderson was in her orienteering in the very end, when she was just cutting the corners a little bit better. You could feel that Megan Carter-Davies kind of got this feeling of, I'm in the lead, I can take it home now, but I have to, I just don't want to miss. And it was like, it felt that she was losing a little bit of this attacking style in orienteering, but of course it was very well executed during the whole course. And I really like to see that in the end, in both the women's and the men's race, we had the ones winning who had like the best preparation for the finish, very active orienteering all the way. And I mean, in that way, it's really not necessary to have any forkings on a sprint relay or on a knockout sprint if you have runners who really want to go for the victory and not only for a top 3.
This was really great route choice here from Megan Carter-Davies, and it's been, I mean, when you're in that last loop with the multi-world champion, I mean, it's hard to back yourself against her, but Megan Carter-Davies is such a humble, unassuming person. She's incredibly modest. She works so hard with her training, and it's such a delight to see her step it up. I think I remember the last or the one before that, the knockout sprint, where she had a really good progression to the semi-final and she didn't make it. I want to see what Hannah Lundberg does.
See here, she's running in here, somewhere here. We must have lost her. Let's see where it happens. No problem here.
She just... What?
No problems.
Yeah, she's still in position here.
See, here she is still in 3rd position, and you see that Benjaminsen. So they're kind of together. Lina Strand quite far behind Caroline Olsson at this part of the race. So it must have been here somewhere, control 10 or 11. You also see that still Megan Carter-Davies is in the lead.
Lundberg just dropping back now, I guess. Maybe she runs out of gas.
She must have done a mistake somewhere. I think here it is, just hesitating. And she wasn't really prepared for that. You can see that the others, they had a clear plan here. And you can also see that Caroline Olsson.
She was so good at making those final choices in the semi-final, but not in the final. Okay, let's hear from Tove Alexanderson, the winner.
So Tove, another victory for you today. How did you experience the final?
It was a really exciting final. In the beginning of the race, I just wanted to be a little bit more in the groups together, but I was second, and but then Hannah just had a stop. So I was first, and it was one route choice where we lost a little bit. So then I just had to catch, and I took meter. I was looking at the route chase, but she always took the same as I also had planned. So I didn't want to do another route choice. So I was just taking the same and catch some meters for meters, and then I knew so that it was quite much running in the end. So when I was sure now it's just to run the last, then I just gave everything I had. So I'm so satisfied, and it was a really exciting race and hard fight.
And were you afraid that Megan might win today? She had the lead at the final loop.
afraid. It's of course I like when it's hard fights, and I know that she's really strong, and everyone in this final is someone that to be afraid of, because everyone is really strong. So of course I have a big respect for her, and I also know that she's really strong in the end. So I was for sure not sure to take it. So it was just to give exactly everything I had.
And now you've had 2 World Cup wins out of 2 races. What does that? Oh, thank you.
Okay, I think we're done there with the interview. I mean, for her to say what an unusual situation for Tove Alexanderson is. She's so used to dominating so much. It actually might be quite unusual and exciting to be pushed through it right till the end.
But you know, you really got the feeling also in this interview that she likes it. She likes it to be challenged.
Yeah,
she likes
completely.
the situation that there is someone challenging her on the last meters, and that as she said, that I try to gain meter by meter, win back second by second, and you could feel like, okay, I like this. I take the challenge. I want to be the best. I want to overtake her on the very end in the physical part, and it's good to see. Yeah, it's good to see her in action like this.
Yeah, it's good to see that, she can be in that unusual situation and still perform absolutely amazingly and have that conviction to the end. And it was really interesting to hear her say that Megan was taking kind of like the same route choices that she planned to do, but she didn't kind of get put off by that.